I never thought I'd become the target of someone who had already killed twice. But when I forgot to mention to my daughter that I'd fixed the smart doorbell camera at her new house, the footage I discovered 3 days later made my blood run cold. My name is Richard Pemberton, and at 63 years old, I thought I'd seen enough of life to spot danger when it crossed my path. Turns out, I was dead wrong. Let me tell you how a simple doorbell camera saved my daughter's life and exposed a predator who had perfected the art of murder. It all started 6 months ago when my daughter Claire called me from Toronto. She was 31, bright, successful, working as a senior architect at one of the city's top firms. Her voice had that excited tremor that only comes with big news. "Dad, I need to tell you something," she said, and I could practically hear her smiling through the phone. Nathan proposed. "We're getting married in December." Nathan Clark. I'd met him 4 times over the 8 months they'd been dating. 34 years old, worked in pharmaceutical sales, drove a nice Audi, always showed up with flowers for Claire, and a firm handshake for me. He seemed perfect, maybe too perfect, but I chalked that up to my natural protectiveness as a father who'd raised Claire alone after my wife Margaret passed away when Claire was just 7. "That's wonderful, sweetheart," I told her, pushing aside the tiny knot of unease in my gut. "He treats you well?" "Dad, he's amazing. He's kind, successful, and he wants to start a family right away. We're even buying a house together in Oakville." Oakville? That was only 40 minutes from my place in Mississauga. At least I'd be close by. 3 months later, I drove out to see their new house. It was a beautiful 2-story colonial with a wraparound porch, the kind of place Margaret and I had always dreamed of owning. Claire gave me the full tour, beaming with pride, while Nathan stood back with that easy smile of his. "The only thing is, Dad," Claire said as we stood in the driveway, "the doorbell doesn't work. The previous owners had some smart system installed, but it's been glitching. I'm not particularly tech-savvy, but I know my way around basic home security. After I retired from 30 years as a civil engineer, I'd taken up small handyman projects to keep busy. I can take a look at it," I offered. Nathan jumped in immediately. "That's really not necessary, Richard. I can call a professional." Something about the way he said it, almost too quickly, made that knot in my gut tighten. But I brushed it off. "Nonsense. Let me see what I can do. Might just need a reset." Over the next week, I stopped by twice to work on the doorbell. Nathan was always conveniently out on sales calls. The system was more sophisticated than I'd thought. Full HD camera, night vision, two-way audio, motion detection, cloud storage. After some YouTube tutorials and a call to the manufacturer's support line, I got it working perfectly. Here's where I made my mistake. I meant to tell Claire right away that the doorbell was fixed and recording, but she called me that evening in tears. Her cat, Whiskers, the one she'd had since college, had been diagnosed with kidney disease. We spent an hour on the phone talking about treatment options and memories. By the time we hung up, the doorbell completely slipped my mind. I didn't think about it again until 3 days later. It was a Tuesday morning, around 7. I was having my coffee and scrolling through my phone when I saw the doorbell app notification. I'd installed it to test the system and forgot to delete it. The notification said, "Motion detected at front door." Curious. I opened the app. The live feed showed Nathan's Audi in the driveway. Nothing unusual. But then I noticed the recorded events folder had dozens of alerts over the past 3 days. I tapped on one from the previous night, around 11:30. The footage showed a man I'd never seen before, walking up to the front door. He was maybe 50, wearing an expensive-looking overcoat. Nathan opened the door before the man could knock, like he'd been watching for him. They spoke for a moment, their voices picking up clearly on the audio. "You shouldn't be here, Victor," Nathan said, his voice tight with tension, nothing like his usual relaxed tone. "We need to talk about Montreal," the other man said. Nathan glanced around nervously before pulling the man inside. "Not here, not now." My coffee went cold in my hands as I sat there, frozen. Montreal. Claire had never mentioned Nathan having connections to Montreal. I told myself it could be anything. Business, old friends. But something felt off. I scrolled through more footage. Most of it was mundane. Claire leaving for work, coming home, the mailman, delivery drivers. But then I found another clip from 2 nights ago, time-stamped at 1:15 in the morning. Nathan was standing on the porch, alone, talking on his phone. His voice was clear in the quiet night air. "I know what I'm doing, Victor. It worked twice before, didn't it? Dorothy and William didn't suspect a thing until it was too late. This time will be no different. Claire's life insurance policy is twice what Dorothy's was, and her father is a non-factor. Old, trusting, lives alone. Once Claire is gone, I'll be the grieving widower with a convenient inheritance and no one asking questions. I dropped my phone. It clattered on the kitchen table, but I barely heard it over the rushing sound in my ears. Dorothy, William, life insurance. Claire is gone. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely pick up the phone again. I played the clip 3 more times, hoping I'd misheard, hoping it was some sick joke or a line from a movie he was rehearsing. But no, the context was clear. The cold calculation in his voice was real. My daughter was engaged to a man who had killed before and was planning to kill her. I forced myself to breathe, to think. I couldn't just call Claire and tell her. She'd never believe me. She was in love with Nathan, planning a wedding, building a future. And I was just her overprotective dad who'd never really warmed to her fiancé. She'd think I was making it up, trying to sabotage her happiness. I needed more information. I needed proof. I grabbed my laptop and started searching. Dorothy Montreal murder brought up too many results. I tried William Montreal's suspicious death and started digging through news articles, obituaries, police reports. After 2 hours, I found her. Dorothy Langford died in Montreal 3 years ago at age 36. The obituary mentioned her devoted husband, Nathan Clark, who'd discovered her body after she'd apparently fallen down the basement stairs. Death ruled accidental, though the article noted that Dorothy had a substantial life insurance policy. My mouth went dry. I kept searching. William Brennan, Calgary, 5 years ago. Age 42. Found dead in his home from what appeared to be carbon monoxide poisoning due to a faulty furnace. Survived by his partner of 2 years, Nathan Clark, who'd been away on a business trip at the time. Another substantial insurance payout. Another tragic accident. 2 dead partners. Both deaths ruled accidental, both with life insurance policies payable to Nathan Clark, and now my Claire was about to become the third. I printed everything I could find. Photos, articles, death certificates I managed to access through public records. Then I drove to Claire's workplace in Toronto, my heart hammering the entire way. She was in a meeting when I arrived, but I told her assistant it was an emergency. When Claire came out to the lobby, she took one look at my face, and her smile vanished. "Dad, what's wrong? Are you okay?" I pulled her into an empty conference room and closed the door. Then I laid out everything. The doorbell footage, the phone conversation, Dorothy Langford, William Brennan. I watched my daughter's face go from concerned to confused to angry. "This is insane," she said, pushing the papers away. Dorothy was his ex-wife. They divorced years before she died. And William was a roommate, not a partner. "You've got your facts wrong, Dad." "Claire, listen to the recording." "No." She stood up, her face flushed. "I don't know what you think you heard, but Nathan loves me. He wouldn't hurt me. How dare you show up at my work with these conspiracy theories? The insurance policies. Lots of people have insurance. That doesn't make Nathan a murderer." Her voice cracked. "I can't believe you'd do this. Is this because you can't let me go? Because you've been alone since Mom died and you can't stand to see me happy?" Her words hit like physical blows. "Claire, please. I think you should leave, Dad. And don't contact me until you're ready to apologize to Nathan and me." She walked out, leaving me standing there with my stack of evidence that suddenly felt worthless in my shaking hands. I drove home in a daze. I'd lost her. She didn't believe me, and now Nathan would know I was onto him. I'd made things worse, possibly even accelerated his timeline. For 2 days, Claire didn't answer my calls or texts. I barely slept, barely ate. I kept watching the doorbell footage, looking for anything else I could use. Some proof so concrete she couldn't deny it. On the 3rd day, I found it. It was footage from the afternoon, after I'd confronted Claire. Nathan came home early, which wasn't unusual. But 20 minutes after he arrived, a car pulled up. The same man from before, Victor, got out and hurried to the door. This time, Nathan didn't invite him in. They stood on the porch, and their conversation was heated. "Her father knows," Nathan said. He showed up at Claire's office with some half-baked theory about Dorothy and William. Victor's face went pale. "How much does he know?" "Too much. He found the obituaries, made connections. Claire thinks he's crazy, but it's only a matter of time before he goes to the police. Then we move up the timeline, Victor said. This weekend. Make it look like a break-in gone wrong. I know people who can make it clean. Nathan hesitated, then nodded. Saturday night. Claire's going to that conference in Ottawa. I'll make sure the alarm is off. They discussed logistics for another minute, then Victor left. I sat there, my whole body trembling. They were going to kill my daughter in 3 days, and they were going to make it look like a home invasion. This time, I didn't go to Claire. I went straight to the police. The officer who took my statement was a woman in her early 40s named Detective Sarah Wong. I showed her everything, the footage, the articles, the timeline. She listened without interrupting, her expression growing more serious with each minute. Mr. Pemberton, she said when I finished, this is substantial, but circumstantial. We can't arrest someone based on a conversation about previous deaths that were ruled accidental, but they're planning to kill her this Saturday, which gives us time to build a proper case. She leaned forward. Here's what we're going to do. First, I'm going to contact the Montreal and Calgary police departments and request they reopen investigations into Dorothy Langford and William Brennan's deaths. Second, we're going to need to wire your daughter's house. Claire won't agree to that. Then we do it without her knowledge. You still have access to the house? I nodded. I have a key. But if Nathan finds out, he won't. We'll be subtle. Detective Wong made some notes. In the meantime, you need to act normal. Don't contact Claire. Don't tip off Nathan that we're investigating. Can you do that? It was the longest 3 days of my life. Detective Wong worked fast. By Thursday, she had confirmation that both previous cases showed irregularities that had been overlooked. Dorothy Langford had a head injury consistent with being pushed, not from a fall. William Brennan's carbon monoxide detector had been deliberately disabled. Both cases were being reopened as suspected homicides. On Friday evening, while Nathan was at work and Claire was at her conference in Ottawa, Detective Wong and her team installed audio and video equipment throughout the house. They were so professional I couldn't even spot the cameras when they were done. Saturday arrived. Claire was due back from Ottawa at 8 that evening. According to the plan Nathan and Victor had discussed, the break-in would happen around 11, after Claire had gone to bed. I sat in an unmarked police van parked 3 blocks away, watching multiple video feeds on a monitor, Detective Wong beside me. My hands hadn't stopped shaking all day. At 9:45, Nathan's Audi pulled into the driveway. Claire got out of the passenger side, carrying her overnight bag. They went inside together. Through the hidden cameras, I watched them move through the house. Nathan was attentive, bringing Claire a glass of wine, suggesting she go to bed early since she must be tired from the drive. At 10:30, Claire went upstairs. Nathan waited until he heard the bedroom door close, then pulled out his phone. "She's asleep," he said when someone answered. "Give it an hour, then come in through the back. I'll make sure the patio door is unlocked. Remember, make it look real. Ransack the bedroom, take jewelry. Make it look like she woke up and surprised you." Detective Wong radioed her team. "All units, prepare to move in. Wait for my signal." At 11:15, a figure dressed in black approached the back of the house. He tried the patio door. It slid open. Nathan had kept his word about leaving it unlocked. The intruder moved through the house quietly, professionally. This was Victor's person who could make it clean. He was carrying something in his hand. In the low light, it looked like a knife. He reached the stairs and started climbing toward the bedroom where my daughter slept. "Now," Detective Wong said, into her radio. The front and back doors burst open simultaneously. "Police! Freeze!" The intruder spun around, started to run, but officers tackled him before he'd made it 3 steps. Nathan stood in the living room, his face pale, trying to look confused and scared. "What's going on? Who is that man?" "Nathan Clark," Detective Wong said, walking in through the front door. "You're under arrest for conspiracy to commit murder, and for the murders of Dorothy Langford and William Brennan." I watched Nathan's face cycle through shock, denial, then finally cold calculation. "I want my lawyer." Upstairs, we could hear Claire screaming, woken by the commotion. An officer went up to explain the situation, while I stood there, my legs barely supporting me. It took 2 hours for them to process the scene. I sat on the front porch, wrapped in a shock blanket, despite it being a warm September night, while officers moved in and out of the house. Finally, Claire came outside. Her face was blotchy from crying, her eyes red and swollen. She saw me and stopped. "Dad," she whispered. I stood up, and she ran into my arms like she used to when she was a little girl and had scraped her knee or had a nightmare. "I'm so sorry," she sobbed into my shoulder. You were right, and I didn't believe you. I told you such horrible things." "Shh, it's okay. You're safe now. That's all that matters." She pulled back, wiping her eyes. "The detective showed me everything. The previous wives. Previous victims. Nathan had it all planned. He was going to." She couldn't finish the sentence. "But he didn't. You're here. You're safe." Over the next few weeks, the full scope of Nathan's crimes came to light. Victor Mercier turned out to be Nathan's cousin, a former private investigator who'd been helping Nathan identify and court wealthy, successful women for years. Their scheme was brutally simple. Nathan would romance women with substantial assets or good insurance policies, marry them, wait long enough to avoid suspicion, then stage their deaths as accidents. The insurance payouts and inheritances would be split between Nathan and Victor. Dorothy Langford had been victim number 1. They'd met at a pharmaceutical conference in Montreal. She was a successful pharmacist with a hefty life insurance policy through her employer. After 2 years of marriage, Nathan pushed her down the basement stairs during an argument about his gambling debts. Her death was ruled accidental. William Brennan was victim number 2, a software engineer in Calgary with substantial savings and excellent life insurance. Nathan had courted him for 3 years before disabling the carbon monoxide detector and sabotaging the furnace. Another tragic accident. Claire would have been number 3, except for a doorbell camera and a father who'd forgotten to mention he'd fixed it. The trial was held the following spring. Both Nathan and Victor were convicted of 2 counts of first-degree murder and 1 count of conspiracy to commit murder. Nathan got life without parole. Victor got 25 years. I attended every day of the trial, sitting in the gallery behind Claire. She held my hand during the most difficult testimony. The medical examiner describing Dorothy's injuries, the gas company technician explaining how William's detector had been deliberately tampered with, the undercover officer who'd posed as a hitman and gotten Victor to detail the plan on tape. When the verdict was read, Claire squeezed my hand so hard I thought she might break my fingers. But I didn't pull away. I'd have let her break every bone in my hand if it meant she was safe. Now, almost a year later, Claire has moved into a condo in downtown Toronto. She sold the Oakville house. Couldn't bear to live there after what almost happened. She's back at work, doing well, though she's sworn off dating for the foreseeable future. Can't say I blame her. We have dinner together every Sunday at my place in Mississauga. She helps me cook, and we talk about her projects at work, my woodworking hobby, the book club I joined at the community center. Normal things, safe things. Last Sunday, as we were cleaning up after dinner, she stopped and looked at me. "Dad, can I ask you something?" "Of course." "How did you know?" Really know." Nathan was so convincing. "Even after you showed me the evidence, part of me didn't want to believe it. What made you trust your instincts?" I thought about it while I dried the plate in my hands. "Honestly, sweetheart, I almost didn't. When you told me I was wrong, that I was being paranoid, I second-guessed everything. But then I thought about what your mother would have said." "Mom?" "When you were little, maybe 4 or 5, we were at a park, and this man started talking to you. He seemed nice, offered you candy, but something about him made your mother uncomfortable. She couldn't explain it, just said her gut told her something was off. She picked you up, and we left. Found out later that same man had been arrested for child abduction attempts at 3 other parks." Claire's eyes filled with tears. "I never knew that story. Your mother taught me that sometimes our instincts pick up on things our conscious mind hasn't processed yet. Little inconsistencies, micro-expressions, patterns we can't quite articulate. When Nathan said Victor shouldn't be there, when he looked around nervously before letting him in, something clicked. It was like 1,000 tiny red flags I'd been ignoring suddenly lined up into a clear picture. She hugged me then, and I held my daughter close, grateful for doorbell cameras and father's intuition, and the fact that I'd forgotten to mention a simple repair job. If you're reading this story, and I hope you are, because Detective Wong convinced me to share it publicly, please learn from what happened to my family. Here's what I want you to understand. First, trust your instincts. especially about the people your loved ones bring into their lives. If something feels off, don't dismiss it. You don't need to be able to explain why you're uncomfortable. That uncomfortable feeling exists for a reason, honed by millions of years of evolution to keep us safe from predators. Modern predators just wear better disguises. Second, technology can be a powerful tool for protection. That doorbell camera saved my daughter's life. Consider investing in home security systems, especially if you have children or elderly relatives living alone. The Ring doorbell, Nest cameras, Simply Safe systems. They're not expensive, and they provide evidence that's admissible in court. Third, if someone you love is in danger and they don't believe you, don't give up. I could have walked away when Claire told me I was crazy, when she accused me of trying to sabotage her happiness. Instead, I took my evidence to the police and let professionals handle it. Don't try to be a hero, but don't abandon someone just because they're too close to the situation to see the danger clearly. Fourth, abusers and predators often isolate their victims from family. Nathan tried to do that by suggesting I was jealous of Claire's happiness, by making my concerns seem like paranoia. If someone in your life is trying to drive a wedge between you and your family members, ask yourself why. Healthy relationships bring people together. Toxic ones divide and conquer. Finally, there's no shame in being deceived by a skilled manipulator. Nathan fooled Claire, her friends, her co-workers, Dorothy's family, William's family, and countless others over the years. These people are experts at creating false personas. Claire was a smart, successful, cautious woman, and she still fell for his act. If you've been deceived by someone you trusted, that doesn't make you stupid or weak. It makes you human, and it means the person who betrayed you is very, very good at being very, very bad. I'm sharing this story because Detective Wong told me there might be other victims we don't know about. Other women Nathan courted before settling on Dorothy. Other potential targets he was researching. If you or someone you know had a relationship with Nathan Clark, or if this story sounds familiar because you've experienced something similar, please contact the authorities. And if you're a parent like me, worried about your adult children, remember this. They may not always want our advice or appreciate our concern, but they still need us to be vigilant. They need us to be the ones watching the shadows while they focus on building their lives. They need us to be willing to be called crazy, paranoid, or overprotective if it means keeping them safe. Because at the end of the day, I'd rather have my daughter alive and angry with me than polite and buried. Claire still has nightmares sometimes. She'll call me at 2 in the morning, breathing hard, and I'll talk to her until she calms down. We're both in therapy now. Her for the trauma of almost being murdered by someone she loved. Me for the guilt of nearly losing her because I questioned my own instincts. But we're here. We're alive. We're together. And that's everything.